Right, and back to our coverages, and as Israel continued its aggression for the 29th day, and as we said, striking Al Fakhura school in Jabalaya, striking a school in that is affiliated to the UNRWA, striking an ambulance, and targeting a convoy of civilian vehicles in the coastal road. Also, this dawn, Israeli shelling on the Gaza Strip continued, and the Palestinian sources said that occupation jets also shelled the residential building in the middle of Khan Yunis, which led to the death of at least 4 people and injuring scores. Others also hit definitely the occupation forces also hit Al-Nasr hospital, and also shelled the main electricity generator in Al-Wafa hospital. Hospitals are running out of work. Before we continue on, let's take this quick report on the developments that are occurring in the enclave, and we'll come back for more discussion.
According to directives by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Egypt kept open its Rafah border crossing for a 4th day on Saturday. The move aimed at letting some foreign passport holders, their dependents, and some wounded Gazans out of the enclave and into Egypt via the land outlet. The Foreign Ministry pointed out to the ongoing preparations for evacuating some 7,000 foreign nationals from Gaza Strip and receiving them on Egyptian soil via the Rafah border crossing. Dozens of critically injured Palestinians were to cross too for treatment at hospitals in North Sinai Governorate. The remarks were made as Assistant Foreign Minister for Consular Affairs and Egyptian expatriates Ismail Khairat met ambassadors and representatives of foreign country diplomatic offices, where he briefed them on Egypt's efforts for opening the land outlet to tackle the mounting humanitarian conditions in Gaza. The meeting also touched upon the intensified efforts to rush urgent humanitarian and relief aid to Gazans being a top priority for Egypt. Meanwhile, American Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. is grateful to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over Egypt's tremendous work in facilitating a mechanism for American citizens and other foreign nationals to exit Gaza. He wrote via his social media account that the United States is firmly focused on a two-state solution and rejects the forced relocation of Palestinians outside the Gaza Strip. Blinken remarks came as he arrived in Israel on Friday in a trip focused on measures to minimize harm to civilians in the war in Gaza. For its part, the United Nations Humanitarian Office said the cost of meeting the needs of 2.7 million people in Gaza and the West Bank was estimated at $1.2 billion. Aid supplies to Gaza have been choked since Israel began bombarding the densely populated enclave. The Palestinian Health Ministry said that the toll since the start of Israeli offensive in Gaza Strip reached 9,227 people, including 3,826 minors.
Right, back to our discussion, and we have with us over the phone His Excellency Ambassador Mesherafa, who is the former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we're speaking here about an encounter or a meeting between the Arab foreign ministers, or some of the Arab foreign ministers, and the U.S. Secretary of State, which is taking place right now in Jordan. And one position by the Arab states. What can we see from offered from the U.S. side, and what could be really of a change to the position or to the current stance of the whole situation?
Actually, Egypt was in the forefront and in the eye of the storm. Since the beginning of the crisis, we have convened the 21 of October meeting, and Egypt was the hub of multilateral diplomacy. And we participated in every initiative, regional or multinational, to ease the suffering of the Palestinians. As a visit, it's not the first visit of Mr. Blinken. It's the third visit of Mr. Blinken to the area. trying to find a solution. I do feel that the Arab foreign minister should give a clear message to the Secretary of State that Gaza needs an immediate ceasefire to cease the bleeding and the continuing suffering of the Palestinians. Nobody is becoming, safe anywhere. And to have a permanent humanitarian corridor in Gaza and to find a way to start an international peace process which will implement the two-state solution. The ministers should not only focus on humanitarian issue. It should go and address the root of the causes of this big explosion in the Middle East.
Indeed. Your Excellency, here, when we speak about the root causes of this crisis, we have also to address the root causes of the whole Palestinian cause. And since we're speaking, or the U.S. Secretary of State is speaking about a ceasefire for humanitarian issue, that would not be a real solution to the whole situation in the Middle East. Is it in the is it in the interests of the whole international community plus the big powers for this war to continue, and how would that jeopardize any kind of development, to any kind of cooperation on every side?
Actually, I do feel that this war could swell and you will have a domino effect across the region. You have already Lebanon on the verge of war, and you have already tensions. Even some American bases are attacked in Syria, are attacked in Iraq, and you have some projectile coming from south of Egypt to Israel. It is time really to move, to have a comprehensive peace settlement and to find a permanent ceasefire, because having this situation going out of hand, the situation is very fluid. It could spark a big fire in the Middle East. And already, many Arab countries are really worried, especially we call them the circle country around Israel, which are in the forefront of any skirmishes happening in the region. We want to, the Egyptian diplomacy always was doing the role of the firefighters. They are trying to ease the humanitarian situation and to limit the damage of what is happening already. So, it's not in the interest of anybody, even the United States of America, to have this situation going out of hand and to have the continuous human suffering in Gaza. And even the American public opinion are starting to turn against Israel itself. You see what is happening in Harvard and Stanford and most of the big thinking centers in the United States are against the war, because it's an unfair war and it's against all norms of humanity and all norms of international law.
Yes, indeed. Think tanks in the United States and in other places in Europe have already spoken a lot about this war and how it is against the interests of the United States and definitely Europe. The issue is how to put real pressures on Israel to stop, and that is a big question mark.
Well, I think the European community should start putting sanctions and to put a way on punishing the Israeli entity, because they were speaking about a high standard of humanity, like what happened in the war of Ukraine and peaceful solution to each crisis. I do not see why up till now there is no word spelled an immediate ceasefire and unconditional ceasefire. Most of this ceasefire proposed right now that are linked to certain conditions, but we need an immediate ceasefire. Indeed. And if Israel doesn't comply, they should have progressive steps to punish the Israeli decision maker.
Indeed. Indeed. Your Excellency, Ayman Mesherafa, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for being with us over the phone and for being with us in our coverage. We'll be continuing on with our coverages in these upcoming hours. So please stay tuned for the panorama, and then we'll continue on with our coverages.